There's more to life than what we think we know. I'm Micky, and I created this space so we can learn new perspectives by sharing our journeys. I believe communication and transparency is the key to growth. So if you're ready for raw conversations about real experiences and life lessons that we can all learn from, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to More by Micky. Hi, I'm Micky, and this is my podcast, More by Micky. I'm here with Kathy Samaan as my first guest of this journey and of this podcast inspiration. She had been doing the girlfriends send each other reels communication piece, and she sent me one thinking the message would be one thing, and it spiraled into inspiring me to be here today and develop this podcast for all of you to hopefully get some inspiration and some direction in life and to learn from our experiences as well as all the guests that I will be having on in the future. So thank you for being here today. And yeah. Kathy, do you want to go ahead and share a little bit about yourself for everyone?
Of course. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've owned multiple businesses. Currently, I have two, an interior architecture company and a construction company. And I've kind of migrated through a lot of different paths and careers and things to get here, flipping homes and, traveling and moving 9 times and all these fun things to get myself here. And I was honored that I was able to inspire all of this. So there's that too. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this journey for you, for all the things to come, and also for us to speak our truths and our stories. And I think that's really the most important piece here.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really, really is. I remember when we first met, and you actually came in to look at my office space that I was leasing at the time for my interior design firm. And I was moving offices at the time, and you walked in to look at it, and I'm like, we were actually put in touch by our other friend, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebecca. And I remember being like, I was not in a very good place in my life at that time. And I remember being like in my head, I mean, she seems like a cool girl, but I don't know that I'm ever going to be friends with her the way Rebecca raves about you. Yeah. And it just goes to show that first impressions we always think are everything, but really they are not, clearly, because we are sitting here today and you are one of my closest and dearest friends in my life. So it goes to show that just at that first meet, we got to really learn a valuable lesson, or at least I did, that first impressions really aren't everything like we thought they were. Yeah. And fast forward, here we are today in your home, in her beautiful home.
Thank you. Thanks for coming all the way here to shoot this.
No, this is really my pleasure. So thank you. Every podcast that I'm going to do, I'm going to read a quote that you do not know about, you've never read in your life. And I want you, while I'm reading it, to think, what is the first thought that comes to your head? Okay. And I want you to share that with all of us.
All right.
Okay.
Pressure's
Hot
on.
seat. Okay. Attract what you expect, reflect what you desire, become what you respect, and mirror what you admire.
How you should lead your life. I think all of those components are very important to having a complete and full life. I think that was my first initial thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good quote.
It is a really good quote. I read it, I'm like, oh, Kathy, fits right in. Actually, what I was searching for quotes was quotes about mirroring, because we talk a lot about what mirroring is, which we'll get to in a second. But that was what I was searching for. And this popped up, and I'm like, I like this better than just like, one line about mirroring. I think that just as I know you, because we are close friends, I feel like your everyday goal is really this. Like you are so always in the forefront of your mind with how you lead your daily life. your intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Even the advice you give to friends that you share with us is really purposeful. It's not just
that's
on the fly.
It's not for me, it's for everyone else, right? Like when I do set those intentions every morning, when I have things I need to say, I don't just excuse me, just say them. I think I put myself in other people's shoes for a moment and intentionally think, is it something that they really need to hear from me? Is it something that they need to go through on their own and I should stay quiet? Is it something that may nudge them in the right direction? And sometimes divine intervention,
right,
like, you know, me sending you that reel, I didn't know that it was going to inspire you to snowball into creating this beautiful thing. So it's starting that momentum every day of understanding that our world doesn't really revolve around us. It revolves around all the other components that are moving and the pieces that are shifting and the small things that we say to other people can transform their lives. You know, it could be a reel that you sent. It could be a smile on your face. It could be one piece of wisdom you learned 5 years ago that is viewed in a different way than you ever thought it could be. And so that's really important. And it's taking the egocentricness that we typically all have and putting it aside for a moment and saying, hey, like, what does this other person need today?
Right.
Besides what my intentions are. Right. Like, I love you. I nurture my staff. I nurture all of my friendships. I nurture my kids. I nurture all these components. And in that nurturing, it's like really nice to take a moment to understand what other people innately need to hear, to see, to feel, and setting those intentions and the way that we live our lives. It's transformative, not just for me, because I get joy. Yeah. I get joy that you're creating all this. I get joy that you know, taking a friend to a Tony Robbins event transformed their life. And it's something small. It's something that's like, hey, want to come with me? Right. You want to, you know, write this story? You want to see this reel? You want to,
or even like simple good morning. I was thinking of you sending a reel.
Yeah.
Like, to you, it was just,
yeah,
I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is the missing piece. This is the answer that I have been searching for. And it was just handed to me. You were the messenger from God, but it was handed to me in the right place at the right time. Like, we never know how our actions or how the love that we give out will affect others and what it actually is going to ignite and which path it will take them on. So it's just so beautiful that we are able to, I guess, show up in the way that we think our friends need, but also in the way, in turn, helps us show up for ourselves.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about mirroring, because that's really what I was searching for, because this is like your go-to theme of life.
It is.
And it has even affected me in such a positive way to really focus and center myself and be able to wake up in the morning and redirect some thoughts that may be negative or doubt myself or put me on a downward spiral. This tool that you have taught me, you know, and just the repetitiveness of it is so crucial for my growth. So let's share a little bit about what this tool is that Kathy Samaan is endorsing for a life.
I mean, I think mirroring in general, and it can be in a few different contexts. One, everything that we are and everything we think and everything we feel is all projected out back to us. And so when we are feeling not so great, the world reflects that to us. And if we can take ourselves out of the emotional component for a moment and say, hey, what is this teaching me? What am I supposed to see here? What am I supposed to learn here? What is it that is being mirrored back to me, realistically speaking, by being in this particular situation at this particular time? Because we're just a series of our experiences to get us here. But then moving forward, how do we adjust? How do we learn? How do we move through things? And that mirroring piece is crucial especially in business, but with friendships, with nurturing other people, with trying to help others. And I think we all innately want that in our lives because it feels nice to help other people. Right. And once you learn that component, you can take a moment, and when they're going through something, say, hey, what is it that you're feeling right now? Where is it coming from? What is this showing you? And
about truly what's inside us.
Yes.
It's really a reflection of what we are feeling, which is just showing up in the world in all of our circumstances and all of our interactions as truly what we feel and think. It's not really about the other person. Right. And I think you can see that with patterns with people. If they're constantly in negative relationships, or if they're constantly struggling to connect with people, there's a pattern there, and they're not saying, hey, why is this being mirrored back to me? There's a subconscious belief within myself that does not allow me to be fully loved or fully seen or fully encapsulated into who I am. And if you can't make that piece really visible to you, it's hard to move through life and grow. And most people that are growth oriented like us will see that, and they'll see it over time, and it'll be more magnified as you go on, which is beautiful. And then there's another component to mirroring that I think we don't talk about enough, but when you are having a conversation with somebody, you can also mirror back to them things that they have said to you in order for them to see things in new perspectives. And that's another component that I really love. So when you say something makes you feel vibrant, or something makes you feel sad, or something, and I just say, hey, that makes you feel sad. What about it makes you feel sad? So you've just now created another mirror for them to look deeper, to understand themselves more, to want to understand the world in a different way, just by repeating back to them what they said to you. And so it's all a mirror. Everything is a mirror. It's a magnified mirror. And if you can take the emotional piece out of all of that, and just ask yourself that at every juncture, especially in the hard times, but also in the beautiful moments, you can grow exponentially and move from one challenge to another in such a graceful way. And most people don't hit that mark, and it's because I think it's a little hard also because, as we've spoken about this for quite a little time now, naturally we are so comfortable in the old way of thinking of someone else did this to me, or this happened to me because that person was angry, and we get stuck in that rut of what society has taught us, which is, that person had a bad day, so they yelled at you, or I got pulled over and the cop was so mean. And instead of saying okay, I was speeding, I got pulled over, this is just a little bump in the road, we're moving on, it's all good. We almost get angry in the moment, and because we get angry and because we get frustrated, that cop was mean, because obviously we're that's exactly how we were feeling. If we were feeling la-di-da, okay, it's another bump in the road, the experience of getting pulled over and getting a ticket is so minuscule in the grand scheme of things in the day that it doesn't even it's like a hiccup. It's you don't even remember half the things that go on in the day. So mirroring is applied to every single aspect in our lives, but especially good and bad, both. But the key to it, which I always love that you taught me recently, actually, was the repetition of thoughts, good affirmations, good things, that every time you find yourself getting stuck in you're no. And you just rewire your brain, you rewire your thought process. And it's just being really, really tapped into ourselves, which is key to everything in life, obviously. But it is really, really an educational process of reteaching and rewiring. I am older, even though I don't look it, almost 40, and I'm learning this piece now. And I don't know that if I would have learned it 10 years ago, would I be in the same place I am today and person, but it had to happen now. And through my journey and through all of these things that you've been teaching me, which I'm so grateful for. I really am. It's like, you don't even realize how grateful I am for our friendship. And okay, no crying on camera, no, guys. Not the first one. We're not doing the first one on camera. But with all of this, I realized God had divine timing for me, and it had to happen now, in this place, at this time, with you. 10 years ago, I didn't know you, so clearly you were the messenger for whatever the reasons are. And besides for being grateful, I'm really, really, how do I say it? I'm extremely proud of myself. And 10 years ago, I don't think I could say that.
Yeah.
Like, I had to go through the stuff and the muck and get out and do and grow in order for me to hear that message in this time.
Yeah. Because if it were relayed to you differently or from another person or at a different time, it may not have sunk in. It may not have registered. It may not have made sense.
Right.
But I think kind of what you were really getting at was also one of the exercises that I had you do, which I have done for myself. When you're talking about those negative thought patterns and you are trying to rewire and you are trying to move through those pieces and shift your mind and sort of blocking that negative thought pattern, you have to first sit with yourself, no phone, nothing, 20 minutes, put a timer on.
Oh, that was an interesting exercise. I think that you should go and explain this exercise, because if people can take something away from this episode, I believe this is a big key factor that I would love for everyone to hear and see. Yeah. So basically, it was an exercise of, and you can explain it. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It's a drop awkward at first.
Very awkward.
Very awkward and uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
Super weird. Sorry.
But it's in the uncomfortable that we are able to grow the most.
Oh, yeah.
The more you get comfortable, and I talk about this a lot, but the more you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, with the unknown, with the openness of that.
Of ourselves.
That's when you can really grow. So that exercise is essentially you sitting down with a notebook, a piece of paper, whatever you want it to be, 20 minutes, put a timer on, no distractions whatsoever, and then write down every single thought, right? Every single thought. I have to use the restroom. I want to cook a turkey burger. Then your thoughts will go,
I think my first one was like, I'm sweating.
Yeah. Right.
This is awkward.
You go through that, and then you kind of hit like around the 10-minute mark, you start going, I don't have enough money in the bank, or, this person was mean to me, or, I don't feel like, this person loves me, or, you kind of go into these cycles. And then after the 20 minutes are done, you go in with a highlighter, and maybe multiple highlighters depending on how much you need to work on, but you highlight the patterns. And so it becomes very apparent that, hey, like wow, I didn't even realize that I had this negative thought pattern.
And I remember I called you and I'm like, there are two patterns here. Like, I'm lost. I don't even know what I'm thinking right now. And obviously, if anyone's doing this and they don't have you to call, it's more like maybe they should, after they make the list, pause for a few minutes, go leave the room, do something else, and then come back with the highlighter so they can almost have a clear mind of the patterns they're seeing. Yeah. Because I read it to you and I was like, help me. And because I had just done it, and I was so proud that I got through my 20 minutes. I'm like, I did it after like the dumbest things I wrote down. I did get to see the patterns by you pointing out, like, there's these two things that kept being repeated. And it was like an aha moment for me when you were like, well, it's clear that this is the thing. Yeah. And I was like, holy, like, come on, like, I cannot get over. And I knew that it was something that I needed to work on. I just didn't realize how important and crucial it was to my growth experience to really tap into it at this point in my life.
And by you tapping into it, you're able to shift the construct of your self-concept.
Oh, yeah.
And by moving through that and changing your self-concept, Now you're this newer version of yourself that can be lighter and freer of these things that you didn't even realize were happening subconsciously.
Yeah.
So, you know, a really vulnerable thing that I can share was I had this notion of, and when I did the exercise the first time, there was a very clear pattern for me where I felt that in my relationships with the opposite sex, that it was the fact that I felt the only purpose I had was to be a pretty face or like a trophy wife or this sort of girl who was very pretty and gave nothing else, which is far from the truth.
So far from the truth.
So far from the truth.
I can say that because I'm a friend.
And I'm going to brag a little about myself because I've realized through all this, like, I mean, I read 50 to 60 books a year. I do self-concept work. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly trying to be a better human being in all the aspects of my life. And I genuinely am very intelligent and I bring a lot to the table. And so for me to realize that I had this limiting belief of like, wow, I'm just a pretty face. What else do I bring to the table? Like, wow, the audacity of my subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you think that of yourself after you've accomplished so much? I mean, you know, I don't talk about this a lot, but like when I opened my interior architecture company, I took a $5,000 check and I turned it into a 7-figure business in 18 months. And I look back at those moments and, you know, you feel like you haven't come that far, but wow, you've come so far. And to be 4 years in and to still have that self-concept, shame on me.
Yeah. Shame
on me for not, you know, finding that sooner or realizing it faster. Thankfully, I was able to grow and shift that mindset and understand myself in that way. But you go through that exercise and
it's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing.
Really, it's life-changing actually.
Yes,
besides absolutely. For that like aha moment or, you know, the subconscious thoughts that come up as we do it. It is a pivotal part of life to see exactly what it is we need to work on and really tackle that to be our best versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's such a great opportunity to like have done that exercise. It changed my life, that's for sure. So I definitely recommend it. As awkward and as strange as it's going to be for those first few minutes, roll with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I besides for that you were able to apply that exercise to your life and what came up from it and how you have transformed your mindset since, what else would you say has changed in your life based on, let's go back to the mirroring, on an everyday basis? Is there one thing that has like changed in your life on an everyday basis now that you are really, really focused and aware of the mirroring concept of how the world works?
I think you start to realize, for me at least, you almost manifest everything into your life, the good and the bad. So when you are in a negative thought spiral, right, that, like you said, like the cop, like he was mean to you because you were like, oh my gosh, like why is he pulling me over? And then you realize you don't need to respond in that way. That's why I talk about taking the emotional piece out, because when you're unreactive to the external and you can center within yourself, that mirror now is a calm, cool, collected exterior, because you're calm, cool, collected on the interior.
Right.
And, you know, that's intentionality at a whole. So the way you lead your life, and it kind of goes back to the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if I know that I will have bumps in the road and I can anticipate that I will have bumps in the road, that means the world could be burning around me and I'm still okay, because I know that it's a very small, minute thing that probably, maybe I had a negative thought pattern in the morning and I was able to shift it, but all this stuff happened because I had those patterns, and I'm able to now see that and shift it quicker.
Right.
So I don't have to necessarily, let's say, you know, my son had a temper tantrum. For some people, I mean, after their child has a temper tantrum, they'll
They're
ruin
exhausted.
their whole day.
The day's over. Yeah.
Sometimes 2 days go by. They're still in this negative thought process. And now they've sunk 48 hours of their precious time on this earth because of one tantrum that probably lasted like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you can say, oh, hey, the tantrum's over, let me now sort of snap myself back
change
out.
that trajectory for the day.
Sort of shift that path, and you can then have a spectacular day.
Yeah.
Even though you had this 7 minutes of probably what some people would call
which
hell.
Everyone has in their life. Like, we're not sitting here saying like there will not be anything or no bumps in the road.
Right.
That's not what this is.
Right.
You know, things will not go exactly as we planned.
Absolutely.
It's how we snap back from it. It's how we handle it. It's how we view it in that moment that changes the rest. Yeah. You do say something like taking emotion out of it. Let's go into that a little, because people can say, what do you mean? You have to be vulnerable. You have to have emotion. You have to feel.
Absolutely.
So explain what you mean by taking emotion out in that moment. It doesn't mean don't have any emotion.
No, because you will have emotion.
Right.
But it's not being reactive. So when I was younger, and I'm talking, in my very early 20s, even going into college and those college years, I was very reactive to everything. And it mirrored back to me so many things. Right. And if I had learned this lesson earlier, we'd be having a completely different conversation.
Yeah. I may not even know you.
You may not, yes, because all the, the butterfly effect, those things would have shifted our timelines. And I think being that reactive and understanding how everything used to ignite me, and you can't lead companies like that. No. You can't
have relationships of any kind like
that.
They're
any
just
kind.
Doomed.
Absolutely. Not relationships with friend, like a friend, not a relationship with a boyfriend, spouse, whatever. Yeah. With your kids even. Yeah. There's always this feeling of unease when you're that reactive for the other person. And so, and I've even had this come up, in the past few months again. I guess I needed to relearn it at different pivotal moments. In different ways, and my reaction is never as it was. It's definitely gone to a very even keeled reaction. I would say I definitely take a moment to take a deep breath first and ask myself internally, what's the feeling that's coming up now, instead of trying to implode or react or cry or whatever that larger emotion is. What is it that is making me have this feeling right now? And it could be that I feel unsafe. It could be that I'm feeling insecure. It could be, there's a deeper subconscious thing that you're feeling, and it makes you want to cry or, explode or have
scream
bigger,
or storm out or
right. But that's never the solution.
Right.
And so when I talk about taking the emotion out, I mean, don't be reactive to your 3D reality. Because I think when you can turn the dial down on that, you can hear and see and feel things in a new way. And it also makes your
in a healthy emotional way.
Yes. It also makes your reality mirror that back to you.
Right.
So you won't have these implosive arguments with your spouse or your boyfriend or your kids anymore, right? You'll have this more toned down, or even a moment of quiet for yourself to understand what's being triggered within you.
Like the root of it.
And then you can come back and you can have a conversation and say, hey, the story that was playing in my head when we had this conversation instead of this argument was, I thought that XYZ was what you were feeling, thinking, or what was transpiring. And that person can come back to you now and say, that was not what I was envisioning. Like that was
so that
not
goes into the communication piece.
Right. But you need to first,
there's no way to communicate if you're freaking out and reactive.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget that.
Oh yeah.
And it's in every moment of your life. Yeah. It's not just in those bigger, more visceral feeling moments, but it's like if I'm stuck in traffic, what do I gain by getting frustrated by sitting in traffic?
Nothing. It's not going to move faster.
Sitting in traffic. I absolutely thrive. One, it's hilarious to me that I'm sitting in traffic. Two, I get to blast my music and just feel good.
I like
and
to
whatever.
people watch the people next to me who don't even notice that
Yes,
I'm looking.
Yes.
Because people watching is like my thing.
Yeah.
And I'll just make stories up in my head about where they were coming from, where they're going.
Yeah.
Who are they talking to on the phone? Oh, that must be a mom, or that must be a kid. Like just based on their, facial expressions. But
absolutely. And then it shifts the trajectory of your day.
Yeah.
Now this, I don't know, the extra hour you have to sit in the car, 30 minutes you have to sit in the car are now an enjoyable experience for you. And you come home filled up with the joy of listening to your music or a book or a podcast or whatever filled your cup, rather than walking in the door and being completely exhausted and drained and being like, oh, I don't even want to hug my kids, or I don't even want to make myself dinner, or I don't want
to be here.
I'm drained, right? And now you've completely adjusted that mindset. And those are the negative thought patterns that you have to break. And that's what gets mirrored back to you, because you won't feel healthy and vibrant and smiley when you walk through the door. You won't want to cook for yourself. You won't want to do the things that fill
to live
your
a healthy lifestyle, actually.
Absolutely. To live a healthy lifestyle overall, mindset and within your physical body. And you'll find that most people who do have a great outer look to them, I guess you could say, or a appearance, that take care of themselves, generally have a good interior sense of who they are, because those two things go hand in hand.
They do.
And some people that kind of shift completely their mindset from who they were actually will physically change what they look like to feel like those two things match now. And I love to take a talk about Layla Hermosi, because I think she's so inspiring in that she's just her full self. But she also talks about how insecure she was when she was younger, and she has changed her physical appearance to match who she's become. And I think that's a beautiful thing when you're coming from it from that intent. The intent behind why she wanted those things was to feel like it matched who she was. And I think some people change their physical appearance because of their insecurity, and they're like, if I change my exterior, I'll feel better inside. Inside. And she changed her inside
to feel better
on the outside. And I think that's what most people miss.
Yes, they do. And I can only say that from my own experience. Like, for a very long time, it's just, I used to tell myself, if I look perfect on the outside, I'll look perfect and then I'll feel perfect. Yeah. And really on the inside, I was having a lot of personal struggles with my own self. Forget everyone else that was, in my world. It was me. I was struggling with me. Mm-hmm. And the only way to make me feel better in that day or in those weeks and in those months and those years was to put on this big, rough exterior and always look perfect and always have it together. And really what I learned in my more recent years is it's on the inside first. Mm-hmm. And naturally my light and my happiness and what I'm feeling on the inside will shine out.
Correct.
And it won't really be about what I wear and my hair color and the makeup that day. Yeah. It will be more about my inner lightness and happiness, and your glow mindset will glow out. Yeah. And I can be wearing gym clothes and sneakers, and I have a smile and I have a lightness to me. I don't need to wear, I do like getting dressed up. Everyone knows I like shoes. Like, those things haven't changed. I like beautiful things, but I don't believe that defines how I feel on the inside anymore.
Correct.
So that's a huge shift. Huge shift.
Because it's understanding that that's not what defines you in general. Right. Strip it all down.
Right.
Who are you?
Who are you when you look in the mirror?
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Are you a happy, light, beautiful soul? Or are you miserable under all of that makeup and hair and nice things?
Yeah.
They are a mask. And they can be so destructive to who you are. Yeah. If your intention.
Right. It's all about the intention behind.
Everything is intention. Yeah. And that's what triggered me to understand mirroring. Everything is intention. The intention behind everything that you do, all the thought patterns that you have, what you wear, who you are. The intention is what creates your reality.
Yeah, it really is.
And so when you understand that innately, it becomes really easy to disrupt the thought patterns. It becomes easy to love who you are.
Yes.
it becomes easy to
it almost becomes natural.
Yes.
Like,
which
I noticed over the last few days,
Yeah.
like before I came here, the negative thoughts were there, and I kept having to be like, nope, Mick, no, we're going back to the good stuff now. And I would take out my paper that I took a screenshot of, so it's in my phone, and I would read it and feel it as I'm reading it. But I don't even have to do that anymore. I don't have to take out the paper. I remember the affirmations perfectly now. And it's less and less every day that the negative even comes into my head. When things are going wrong, I'll automatically, instead of feeling negative about it, I'll just go into the, no, it's okay. Like, I'm okay. So my reaction now to negative things is a positive reaction in a way. And it's becoming very natural, and just,
that's how you know you rewired it correctly.
I guess so. It's like, it's a work in progress.
Because when you disrupted it enough, it's no longer your safety.
Right.
It takes you out and puts the new stuff back in.
And the first few days were not comfortable. It was like that exercise. It was awkward.
And
it was like, people, I'm in the grocery store and I'm thinking something negative and I'm pulling out my phone, and I don't really care what other people think, but I'm like, I have to read this. Like, this is not comfortable. And obviously everything that's worthwhile sometimes starts off a little uncomfortable, which I'm learning very well. It's nice for it to come so natural now and not even have to take it out. And now in my head, I'm adding positive thoughts to them. So it's like my short list now became a long list that every day changes. It depends on the day. Like, you know,
but I don't know. You can pump yourself up. You can have that internal list. You can talk to yourself in such a positive, beautiful way. And I think earlier on in our friendship, I had you do a different exercise. Can I talk about it?
Go ahead.
I had started on this journey some years ago after a car accident I had, and I shared that with you. And I had to start just by sitting in front of a mirror and telling myself. We had this discussion.
I remember on one of our girl dates.
We did, because I sat in the uncomfortableness of looking myself in the eye in the mirror and saying, I am beautiful, I am cherished, I am loved from within myself, right? And it wasn't until that really clicked for me that I could even feel good about myself on the exterior too, because I started from I had to start somewhere. And for me, it was like I wasn't even feeling good about my body or who I was. And I'm beautiful and you're beautiful. Like, there's so many of us that are deeply beautiful, and we're all very different. There's no comparison, but we allow the outside to dictate what beauty is or whatever. And I had to sit with myself and be like, no, I am deeply beautiful. And there were so many times where I looked in the mirror and I would cry.
So I told you the first time I went home, and I'm the type of person who, like, you're like, Micky, you should try this and this. I think it'd be great for you. I'm like, let's go home right now and try it. Like, I'm always like, now.
She's
like,
on the board.
I am on the ball. Like, I don't even waste time. I'm just not, I'm not a, I'll do it tomorrow type of girl. I'm not like, should we end this date now so I can go home and look in the mirror? Just who I am. Which also has its negatives in a way. So we're trying to like balance it all out.
It's not.
Sometimes I'm supposed to be in the moment and have the date with you instead of the whole time being like, are we almost done so I can go look in the mirror? So learning how to be more present. But I did cry. Really, really heart-wrenching tears and thoughts that popped into my head that I didn't even know I thought about myself. Because they weren't on the daily grind of the negative that was popping in my head. They were new to me. And it was definitely such a big learning experience too. After 2 days, I remember calling you being like, I did it. I finally did it. Like,
I remember that call.
And it's huge. It's huge. Just like, I guess it goes back to the beginning of, I needed to hear that at that time. And probably if you told me all of this at that time, I'd be like, this girl is whacked in the head. Like, what are you saying? Like, okay, Kathy, like, we'll just get you another drink or something. Like, I don't know that I would have taken that lesson and internalized it and really applied it in that moment. So I guess we're always where we're supposed to be in that exact moment.
Absolutely.
But it has been changing my world, rocking my world in a good way.
I love rocking everyone's world. I'm like, you know, the more people that we can share our stories with, our truths, our things that are not so cute, like,
no,
that's okay. Because that is who
that's how the real world is.
I am. And it was part of that journey. And it's actually beautiful to watch the progression of that.
Of yourself.
Right. Yeah. Right. And other people take stock, they take notice.
Right.
Way more than you think.
Oh, yeah.
Because you shine differently when you've done the hard things. And those hard things look like very different for every single person. And that's the uniqueness. That's the story. And I've had conversations. I mean, I've told you about this. I was recently in Portugal, and I had some conversations with people that I had known, but I didn't know their deep stories.
Right.
And I had a friend share something with me, and I was brought to physical tears because the things that she had overcome and the person that she is so, so beautiful.
Right.
That I not only saw her in a different light, but I appreciated her journey in such a way that was like, you are a testament to the willpower of humanity.
Yeah.
And the things that she have been through, like, make me get chills, because it's, physical abuse and this, and it's like, wow. And she's so grateful to God for going through that.
Yeah.
So that, right? That shows you being unreactive, forgiving, understanding who you are, sitting in uncomfortableness
with ourselves,
transforms you and allows you. I mean, she leads a team of 55 people now. And there was a point in time, only a decade ago, that she didn't speak a lick of English. And she's wonderful, and she doesn't speak that great of English to now. She makes jokes about it, and it's adorable. Because she's such a lighthearted soul, because she's been able to move through those pieces.
Right.
And it's so impactful.
Right. It's empowering
to have those conversations. Yeah. So when we have those conversations, when we can talk to people about our stories, then maybe you can sit in front of the mirror and cry so you can get it all out and feel better about yourself. Because we are all so, again, like, so beautiful in so many different ways. And like, there's no comparison.
Nope.
There's just everybody's journey.
Yeah.
And the mirroring of all those pieces, it's deeply soul nourishing.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
So I have one question.
Okay.
And we'll probably wrap up with this.
Perfect.
If you could have everyone who's viewing this take away one thing, what is the one thing that pops in your head from this episode?
Okay.
Because we went over a lot of stuff in a very short time.
I think something that touches upon all of the concepts we spoke of is actually being fearless. Be fearless in facing yourself. You're your own worst enemy. And when you can look at yourself and be fearless about what will look back at you, then you can actually change, like, inside, and understand all the components that you needed to go through to become the person you're meant to be and wholeheartedly want to become. So be fearless.
Be fearless. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with me.
I'm honored that I was your first guest. Thank you, seriously.
No, well, this was inspired really by something that you were just sending me in the day. And thanks. Really, like, I know we spoke about this. You didn't even think that that's what I was going to go with. And I was just like, oh, this is it. So besides for it being my pleasure, I genuinely thank you for, without even knowing it, inspiring all of this today.
You're very welcome. It makes me very happy that you're able to do all of this.
Thank you, babe. Love you.
Love you too.